Okay, everybody, I am opening the doors and letting everyone in. Hello, everyone. Just letting you know that we're going to get started in just a few minutes. So we're just waiting to see if there's a couple more audience members that made reservations that should be joining us here any minute now. So sit tight, and we'll be starting in just a few minutes. Thank you for everyone for being here. Okay, everyone, we're about to begin. Can I have the cast please unmute their videos? And we'll stop sharing there. Hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. We're so excited for you all to be here. My name is Ricky Pack, and I am the artistic director of the Circle Squared Collective. And on behalf of the associate artistic directors Yvette Herrera and Whitney Tenny Pack, as well as our awesome cast here, we welcome you to episode 1 of This Land. So before we start the show, just a couple of housekeeping items. Please make sure that your videos and microphones for the audience, please make sure your videos and microphones are muted during the performance. We don't want you to accidentally become part of the show. And if you don't know how to do that, the bottom left corner of your screen should be the microphone button. Click that, and a red line will go through it, and that'll be muted. And then there's a button to stop your video. And then, as was already mentioned in the chat, in the top right corner of your screen, you'll see a little tab there that says View. If you click that, make sure you're in Gallery View. Make sure you clicked Hide Non-Video Participants as well. and that will probably give you the best effect for the show this evening. If you have any questions or need any help, just throw out a comment in the chat bar, which you can open up by pushing the chat option at the bottom of your screen as well. So we feel good. We feel good. I'm not seeing any comments come up. And also, we would like to, at this time, welcome our live streaming audience from YouTube. We are simultaneously streaming this live performance, both on Zoom, and now it's also streaming on YouTube. So hello, everyone out there. Welcome to the show. I think they're like 10 seconds behind us, so they'll get this in about 10 seconds. But one thing that we wanted to talk about before we get into the actual show is that I just wanted to, first of all, say thank you to everyone in the cast and all the creators behind this land. It was a long time coming, something that we actually started as an idea back in, 2015 or something, 14, as a different idea. And it took a lot of different iterations and eventually became what it is that we're going to show you now. One thing about our performance tonight is that we just want the audience to know that this is a big experiment, right? When we're creating this land, we didn't want to try to recreate live theater on Zoom because, there's no recreating live theater except for in the theater. But what we were interested in doing was to see how could we make Zoom theatrical. And that's what we're really interested in exploring. So we had a lot of fun making these explorations, and we hope that you will have fun watching it. So thank you for being part of this experiment. And what I'm going to do is drop into the chat for our audience. Here's a little link that might come in handy just for your own information, because what we'd like to start our show off by doing is to acknowledge with respect the Onondaga Nation, firekeepers of the Haudenosaunee, the Chumash, the Gabrielino, the Tongva, the Kish, the Kumoyai, the Yokut, and all the other indigenous peoples on whose ancestral lands our cast currently dwells. And we would like to invite our audience to take a moment to use that link that I just dropped into the chat, type up your zip code into the search, and see whose ancestral lands that you currently stand on, just so that we can all take a moment of acknowledgement and respect. And feel free, if you want, to add the names of those tribes into the chat as well, so we as a community can acknowledge and respect those tribal members as well. And I wanted to start with this because I guess it's becoming something that's a tradition in theater nowadays. But beyond that, I believe that it's important for us to take this moment. Oh, thank you, everyone, for popping in those tribes into our chat there. But I think it's important to take this moment to reflect on our ancestors' roles in the forced removal, the stolen land, and genocide committed in order to create the nation that we live in and benefit from today. And this is not as it's not as a means to lay any sort of like guilt or blame, but as a starting point to learn and grow from our mistakes and wrongdoing, so that we don't become doomed to repeat our history. And the thing about our history is that we are living it right now in our present. Now is the time for us to right our wrongs, to learn and grow, to try to understand who we are as a nation, which brings us to this land. Through a very generous grant from the Syracuse University Office of, let's see if I get this title right, the Syracuse University Office of Undergraduate Research and Creative Engagement, right, SOURCE. We were able to fund some student research assistants. Hey, do you guys want to wave and all these great students who went out and spent their summer interviewing the people whose stories you're about to hear tonight. Now, the original plan was to send the research assistants to the battleground states to gather interviews from people on the street and ask them questions about who they were planning on voting for in the 2020 presidential elections and why. But then the pandemic hit. And we had to shift our plan to gathering interviews through Zoom, FaceTime, Google Hangouts, and other, whatever you call them, video streaming sites. So while we were super happy to be able to continue the project and gather these interviews, the unfortunate side effect was that by the nature of access to technology, or really like the lack of access to technology, it really impacted who we were able to interview. So we just want to acknowledge that the stories and the voices that you're about to hear are definitely unintentionally biased towards people who come from a position in life where they could afford the technology to be interviewed and could afford the time and as well as the mental and physical space to not have to worry about the pandemic around them and to speak with our RAs. And despite those limitations, I believe that we were able to get as fair of a cross section of the American voice as we could. And again, our hope here is not to try to sway anyone from their own political beliefs. Rather, that we come to a better understanding of who we are as people and citizens of this country, so that we learn from the history that we're currently living in and not doom ourselves to repeat it. Not doom ourselves to repeat the wrongs of our past. So I just want to thank you all for joining us. Thank you for lending me your ears. Actors, are you all ready? Places, please. Places. And just want to let you know that we will be recording this production. And without further ado, this is episode 1 of This Land.
We appreciate that you have taken the time to speak to us about your personal experiences. Your interview will be used for character and script creation for a documentary theater-style play tentatively called This Land. By giving us permission, we may create characters based on the people we interview. We will remain accurate to your interview and use verbatim information whenever possible, although we retain the right to edit the words and story to fit the needs of the final play. We will not violate the spirit of the original words and interview. We will strive to not misrepresent you in any way, shape, or form. We may use this interview as inspiration for monologues, scenes, movement pieces, or digital media. No actual images or recordings of the interview will be used without your express written or verbal consent. All recordings will be destroyed upon the completion of the project. Lastly, if there is any question you are not comfortable with answering, please feel free to abstain. The point of this interview is not for us to sway you, nor is it for you to sway us. Please don't hesitate to elaborate on your thoughts. We are eager to hear as much of your story as possible. Please don't hesitate to elaborate on your thoughts. We are eager to hear as much of your story as possible.
The Emperor's New Clothes, adapted from Hans Christian Andersen, which Andersen adapted from a Spanish collection of fables called Libro de los Ejemplos, which was adapted from an Asian Indian folktale of the gendarmerie tradition.
So the story goes. There once was an emperor who was more known for his vanity and appetite for the finer things in life than his ability to rule wisely and justly. The only thing that mattered to him was his wealth and beautiful clothes. His one true passion was ensuring that he was dressed in the finest regalia available at all times.
One day, a pair of weavers came into town, boasting of their ability to weave the finest clothes in the country. Not only could they make the most beautiful garments to be found, but the clothing also had the magic ability to become invisible to anyone who was too foolish to be able to appreciate its beauty.
When the emperor found out about these magnificent clothes, he knew he had to have them for himself so that he would be able to surround himself with only the wisest and smartest of people. So he paid the weavers with large sums of gold and gave them bolts of the finest silk to begin crafting his new clothes. The weavers set up their looms and immediately began about their work.
After a few days, the emperor became curious about how the weavers were progressing in their work. So he sent one of his most trusted officials to take a look and report back to him. The official looked at the weavers engaged with their looms, but could not see anything they were creating.
He knew of the magic of the clothes, though, and didn't want others to believe that he was a fool as not to be able to see the wondrous work. So he reported back to the emperor that indeed the clothing the weavers were crafting was among the most beautiful he had ever seen.
A few more days passed, and Emperor sent yet another trusted minister to check on the progress of his wondrous new clothes. And that official also saw nothing on the loom, but not wanting to look the fool, also made up a story on how beautiful the clothing was and that it would soon be finished.
A third check with a third official brought about a third lie to the emperor, along with word from the weavers that the clothes were finally finished. So the emperor and his trusted officials met the weavers at their loom to look upon his beautiful new clothes.
Of course, the emperor saw nothing in the hands of the weavers as they presented the clothes, yet each official oohed and awed and went into great detail about how wonderful the emperor's new clothes looked. So the emperor believed them. He took off his old clothes and donned his new wardrobe while remarking how light and comfortable the fabric was. He ordered his officials to set up a giant parade so that he could show off his wonderful new magic clothes.
As the emperor strolled down the street completely naked, not a single person would admit to not seeing the emperor's new clothes, as word had reached the townspeople that only the most foolish were unable to see the magical clothes. Instead, they all applauded and cheered as the smile on the emperor's face grew larger and larger.
That is until the voice of a small child reached his ears, saying, "But he doesn't have anything on." The child's parents shushed the child, saying, "Don't cause trouble. Keep your voice down." And still the child said, "But he doesn't have anything on."
And though the emperor knew, and the ministers knew, and the townspeople knew, and most assuredly the children knew, that they had all been fooled, they still cheered and waved and continued with the parade.
How was your day, honey? You know there's an important election coming up. Ooh, everything smells delicious. My day was great. I got an A on my exam. Well, who are you voting for? You mean on American Idol? I thought that ended years ago. Try to eat more vegetables. To the colored men of voting age in the southern states. As citizens of the United States, you cannot value too highly your right to vote, which is an expression of your choice of the officers who shall be placed in control of your nearest and dearest interests. You should vote at every election, in national and congressional elections. Vote for the best interest of the country. In local elections, vote for the best interest of the community in which you live. Never sell your vote. So who are you voting for? I don't know. Somebody. I'll probably vote like my parents, but I'm not sure.
We're drowning. We're overworked. Living on an assembly line, like saved files on an old computer. Copy of copy of copy. American dream? Not even cookie cutters anymore. There are no cookies to take home. Poet Christina Ward.
My father was a politician in Cuba. He was an attorney and then he ran for office, and he was actually elected to Congress in November of 1958 before Fidel took over. So when my parents moved here, they were Cuban refugees. And then my father couldn't find a job, and like he applied like to be a janitor and like clean floors, different things like that. Yeah, and well, he was overqualified for that, so they wouldn't hire him. So he finally found a job as a clerk for CBS Records in New York City.
I was taught English in Brazil because my parents always had this idea that the United States was like this like big freedom and like prosperous place where you can earn a lot of money and be successful. So they thought, and like, why not? It's just, it's a good language to learn. So I went through like so much during my immigration process when I came from Brazil to the United States, right when the Obama administration was ending. And I applied for my green card when the Trump administration was already going on. So they really made my whole process much more difficult than it should be to come to this country.
My parents actually just like, my family was in the process for applying for citizenship, and that took a long time. It was definitely crazy to think like, we're a middle class, like white family coming from Australia of all countries. And it took us 13 and a half years to become citizens. It was a long process of being on the visa and then getting our green cards, and you have to have a green card for 5 years. And we've been in the process of applying for citizenship for the past year and a half. And my parents became citizens right before the new year.
Well, I was born in a communist country. I came here when I was really young. So growing up, my childhood was spent in Cuba. So my parents had the opportunity to leave Cuba in 1971 as a result of the freedom flights. And we probably took the last flight to Miami, So I got here at the age of 6, and so I've been here ever since. And one of the reasons why I am against radicals and stuff like that is because they're just too liberal. And there's a line, and I've been where that line crosses. When you live in a communist country, you have that reality. It's like, you don't want to go back to that. So I want to avoid that at all costs. That's why not just myself, but a lot of Cubans feel this way.
I came in 2013. I came with my mother and my brother, and I left everyone else back home. I mean, she wanted us to have a better education because Brazil is like super dangerous and the government's a mess. We stayed in the process for like 30 months, and I was kind of stuck in America because you can't really leave without parole to go back to Brazil. So I was doing the opposite of what I wanted to do. I want to have freedom and come here and go back home to see my dad or my whole family.
I mean, my parents and their parents went through all of that garbage. We don't want to be reminded of what happened in Cuba ever again. So yeah, everyone that is Cuban is going to be like me.
Yeah, then my father came to the US at 41 with limited knowledge of English. And then he worked his way up to becoming vice president of music publishing at CBS Records.
And I remember the, I don't know what to call him, the citizenship man that interviewed my parents noticed that I was about to turn 18 because my birthday's on January 3rd. And they were like, oh, well, we better put you in to like swear in I don't know what you call it, take the oath that was like, America, yeah, before I turned 18 so that I could get citizenship through my parents and not have to go through so long of a process.
We know the sound of all the sounds we brought. The rich taste of it is our own tongues. But where are we going to be, and why, and who? The disenfranchised that want to know. We mean to be the people we meant to be, to keep on going where we meant to go. Poet by Miller Williams.
You can't just dismiss it and be like, fuck America, fuck everything, because at the end of the day, like, what we should be doing is it's like figuring out how we can change where we live and how we can make it like better. And while I like sit and look at like the Confederate flag that my neighbor has, and I'm like, what the fuck is that? And who the fuck allowed you to keep flying that after, I guess like, I'm not a patriotic person, but I don't think that I don't like run around with pride, like with an American flag, and I'm like, oh my God, like red, white, and blue. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think I'm patriotic, but I think I am prideful because I'm prideful of like change. And also I'm prideful of our generation. And yeah, that's it. That's all I am prideful of.
And so basically, I am in this weird gray zone right now, where it's I have the ability to become a citizen, and I kind of am a citizen because of my parents, but I don't have the correct paperwork. I do consider myself an American. I've lived here. I've worked here. I'm going to school here. Like, this is where my family and friends are. But I remember sitting in my parents' citizenship ceremony, and the oath that they have to take is insane. It's so intense. It's like I like completely I reject and I like dismiss all previous ties to my past country and devote myself fully to the United States of America. What? And like I know in like wartime that would make sense. But I mean just now ah it was very almost um like it's like exciting and emotional because all these people becoming citizens, it's really exciting. But like at the same time, I was like, ugh, it feels so dismissive of where you're coming from because it is so like America.
The America that I believe in is the America that one day, not currently, but can one day let people be themselves. As a Filipino Hispanic, I'm born and raised in America, and that makes me about as American as can be. I shouldn't have to look a certain way. I shouldn't have to talk a certain way. I shouldn't have to believe in certain things that I think that's the beauty of America. We have these certain types of freedoms, and while they're being threatened right now, once it's over, once we fix those problems, because of who we vote for, it has the potential to be this beautiful thing, a beautiful refugee for people who don't have that.
So at this time, you've been invited to join a breakout room. Please click on the Join Breakout Room.
Now I see people who are working as hard, if not harder than my family had done, my grandparents had done, and so forth. They're not even getting out. They're not even able to get their kids into school. They're not even able to make sure their kids don't get killed, walking to school. It's changed. There's something fundamentally that is just broken in so many of our urban centers, and clearly the suburbs too, that this massive divide of the haves and have-nots, which may have existed when I was a young kid. I never saw it. I never felt it. Like, if anything, we felt like we were on the have-not side. Now I see it. I see it every day, and that's got to change.
But I don't think that white people, personally, I don't think that whites have any more advantages today than the black people do. I think I've seen black people in politics, doctors, lawyers, Oprah Winfrey, athletics, in sports. And if they want, they can achieve it. They can achieve it more than me because I had no talents like these people. So if you have the desire and you work hard at it, I think people can achieve it no matter what color they are. Yeah.
Obama being elected was a huge moment because I was alive to witness the first president of color get elected. I was like, that's sick. That's so cool. And Obama wasn't perfect. No president is perfect. And obviously looking at it through a 2020 lens or things where it's like, this would have been so much better if it had happened differently. But again, going back to the whole LGBTQ thing, he was the president when gay marriage was legalized in America. And I was like, that's sick because also I have my dad's brother's gay and he had a partner who now is his husband. And just the idea that they were able to get married, I was like, that's amazing. This is great. This is what politics should be about.
Patriotism is simply love of country, love of the values of the country. I forget who it was who said, my country, right or wrong, when right be kept right, when wrong be made right. When you look at your country, and I've traveled the world, I've been to many, many continents. I used to race internationally and things, and nothing is better than coming out to America. Not because it was home, but because of the way everything works, the culture, the values, the ability to pretty much be whoever you wanted, regardless of how you were born. There's a reason why people will walk for miles over broken glass to illegally break into this country or come here illegally. They do it because it's so much better than everywhere else. The people at the bottom of the barrel can become a billionaire, and a billionaire can become a guy who's living in a trailer park. I mean, there's constant movement between the classes, which is important because you get there by merit or you lose it by lack of merit. There are equal opportunities to succeed instead of equal outcome, which is what socialists want. And that's why America's so great. That's why I'm a patriot.
then the world blew up and sort of shut down. And so immigration and citizenship offices obviously were put on hold. So my application was just paused. And so I've been sitting in this gray area. And I thought it was going to be able to vote in the primaries, but I wasn't. And I don't think I'll be able to vote in the actual election. I'm like, there might be a tiny slim chance by a miracle that comes through, but I'm not placing any bets on that right now, which has been very hard. It's been very disheartening because I guess that is one way as a citizen that you yourself can be politically active and like have your voice heard without actually being a politician. And so that was hard to deal with.
People here, like politics is their identity, their life. Like they put their political views on like a flagpole, so you can't have a conversation with anyone. I do think the Confederate statues have got to go. People here are very scared of that. They love their founding fathers here. They love those stories of those old American folk life. That's the way it was. Shit, like, they made up fairy tales. With those big traumatic events, there's like a sense of before and after. Like with 9/11, there's like the way people looked at things before and the way people look at things after. Like, what are the effects?
The two great points of difference between a democracy and a republic are, first, the delegation of the government in the latter to a small number of citizens elected by the rest. Secondly, the greater number of citizens and greater sphere of country over which the latter may be extended. The effect of the first difference is, on the one hand, to refine and enlarge the public views by passing them through the medium of a chosen body of citizens, whose wisdom may best discern the true interest of their country, and whose patriotism and love of justice will be least likely to sacrifice it to temporary or partial consideration.
Comfort and peace are an illusion, and they're relatively new.
The American dream is going to be hard to get back because of the pandemic. I don't know if our country, I don't know what's going to happen. I think it's kind of hard to visualize what's going to happen after this pandemic. Personally, I don't want to disillusion you, but with all these companies going out of business, and now with the new wave, it's going to come probably in the fall and stuff. Yeah, and you just don't know how many more restaurants and people working at restaurants and hotels, hotel industry and the airfares and all of that. You just don't know what's going to end up happening. Another fad of this new economy. So I don't know what the American dream would be to me. American dream would be the way things were. And that to me was my American dream. It was still achievable. Definitely achievable.
Well, I think that if you're socially active in political or justice issues, that is the definition of being patriotic. It means you care enough to be involved. It means that you think that the country is precious and deserves to do the best that it can, that it has a promise. You guys have any other questions?
Yeah, I was just about to say, I don't think I have any more questions for you. How about you guys?
I'm good.
I'm good. I'm good.
I'm good.
Thank you so much for speaking with us today. Yeah, I really, honestly, it's been wonderful hearing from you. So,
Oh, well, thank you. I hope that I was articulate enough. And thank you for your questions. It's just been good to talk with people.
absolutely.
All right.
Great.
Okay. Well, good luck with your project. I'll be watching.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you
Have a
again.
good one.
You too.
She's so sweet. She has so many quotes. I just was like writing quotes down to put on posters. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no.
well, yeah, and I think those quotes would fit into the meeting we're having with C2C about this land. Like, I think it could fit into the show. Really
Yeah,
well.
for
Totally.
sure.
Yeah, with dramatic question and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'll go-
oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, love.
I was just gonna say, like, I think that we'll definitely be able to use it in the rehearsal.
Yeah, I'll go through and highlight stuff.
All right. Cool.
What are you guys doing the rest of the day?
Honestly, nothing. I've been sitting all day. I need to like
Nothing
stand up and
Well, I love y'all. Enjoy. I'll see you guys at the next interview. I'll see you soon.
yeah. Okay. Sounds good, guys. Bye.
That is the end of This Land, episode 1. Let's invite the actors to unmute their videos. And we just want to say thank you again to everyone for attending and for watching on YouTube the live stream. This is episode 1. Next week we will have episode 2, which keeps exploring this question of who people are deciding to vote for in the 2020 presidential election. The week after that is the deadline for elections, is November 3rd, so we won't have a show then. But the week after that, on November 10th, we will have another show, our final episode, where we kind of wrap up the perspectives of what's going on in our country. So we hope that you enjoyed this show. Please help get the word out and let people know about the next 2 episodes. And meanwhile, I think that our company should take a little bow. I don't know how that happens on Zoom, but we bow. Thank you, audience. And please, audience, please feel free to unmute yourselves and unmute your cameras just so we can see your faces if you like.
What a great job. That was awesome.
Thank you all for coming.
Creative.
Thank you for coming.
So
Thank you
creative
so
and
much.
informative. What a great job, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Good job. Good job, Augie.
Yay.
Y'all were amazing. Great job.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank
Come back
you.
Come back for episode
Bye,
2.
guys.
Come back for episode 2.
You bet.
Cool.
Yep. See you later.
Bye, Dad.
Hi, Mom. Bye, Mom.
Hey, Dad. Nice angle, Dad.
Hi, Nancy.
Dad, know your angles.
All right. I don't know how to stop live sharing now.
How How did, yeah.
The little buttons on the right-hand side, right? Should be next to your reactions.
Well, no,
How
because
do we get out of here?